We didn't do anything different at our show. That we did the same thing we do at every show. We just do what we do, and it was nothing different for that day. I hated it. I couldn't feel the vibe. So much going on.
Shocking photos from Woodstock 1999 capture a music festival that went down in history as one of the most disastrous events in U.S. music culture.
Fred, have you ever seen anything like that in your life?
I've never done anything like that in my life.
How scary was it for you up there when they started ripping that place apart, when they started taking the plywood off the towers and stuff?
God, dude, it's not our fault. That's all I can say.
Between 225,000 and 250,000 people attended the three-day event that ultimately devolved into riots, fires, and destruction. What began as a celebration of music quickly transformed into chaos when temperatures soared above 100 degrees. How did all these come to being? In this video, we'll uncover shocking photos from Woodstock 99 that will leave you gasping for air. Come along as we uncover how a music celebration descended from into violent chaos, overflowing porta-potties and human waste. Among the most disturbing images from Woodstock 99 are those documenting the sanitation nightmare that unfolded at the festival grounds. The haunting photographs capture rows of portable toilets surrounded by pools of murky liquid, with festival-goers desperately trying to navigate around overflowing human waste. Other images show young attendees playfully rolling in what they believed was innocent mud, unaware of its toxic composition. The portable toilet areas appeared so unkempt that they resembled a product of nuclear decay. Additionally, the photos reveal garbage piling up everywhere, as trash cans filled quickly and were barely emptied throughout the festival. The sanitation disaster stemmed from an insufficient number of portable toilets installed for the massive crowd. Within hours of the festival's start, many toilets became unusable as they burst from overuse, flooding the grounds with excrement and creating an unbearable stench. Moreover, the situation worsened when frustrated attendees broke pipes leading to water basins, causing flooding that mixed with the rapidly overflowing porta-potties. Consequently, what many thought was simply mud was actually a toxic cocktail of human waste and dirt. Within the first 24 hours, you had kids rolling around in what they thought was mud, but was really human waste, one witness noted. The health consequences were severe and widespread. The Oneida County Health Department analyzed the free drinking water and found it contaminated with E. coli and other bacteria. Many attendees who had contact with the contaminated water developed skin rashes, lip infections, gum infections, trench mouth, and trench foot. Furthermore, the company hired to clean the toilets reportedly didn't show up to service them twice daily as contracted. The sanitation failure became a major factor in the growing discontent among festival goers, who were already suffering from intense heat and price gouging for food and water. As one attendee explained, "I think eventually, attendees just couldn't take it anymore," setting the stage for the escalating chaos that would follow. What if I told you Woodstock 1999 wasn't the peace and love festival people expected, but a chaotic mess caught on camera? These shocking photos will make you question everything you thought you knew. Wait until you see the last one. Crowds bathing in toxic mud. The jarring images of Woodstock 99 feature countless attendees frolicking in vast mud pits across the festival grounds, seemingly enjoying a carefree respite from the sweltering heat. These disturbing photographs capture young concertgoers covered head to toe in brown sludge, diving into mud pools and sliding across makeshift mud pits. In some images, attendees appear blissfully unaware as they splash each other with the murky substance. Other photos show people using the mud to cool off from the relentless 100-degree heat that reflected off the tarmac of Griffiths Air Force Base. The pictures reveal hundreds of festival goers congregating around broken water pipes, standing in puddles of brown water and bathing in what they believed was simply muddy water. The horrifying reality behind these seemingly innocent mud baths was that attendees were unknowingly immersing themselves in human waste. The former military installation site was already contaminated with heavy metals and toxic chemicals, including trichloroethylene and PCBs, having been designated as a Superfund cleanup site. Nevertheless, the situation worsened dramatically when frustrated festival-goers broke pipes leading to water basins, creating floods that mixed with sewage from overflowing portable toilets. That mud that these people were in, it was mud and SCCOs, explained attendee Mike Elling. Specifically, within the first 24 hours, kids were rolling around in what they thought was mud, but was really human waste. Subsequently, numerous health issues emerged among those who had contact with the contaminated mud. Many developed skin rashes after showering or bathing. Others contracted trench mouth and trench foot from exposure to the contaminated water and mud. Massive bonfires, lighting up the night, raging infernos, illuminated the WoodStock 99 grounds on the final night, transforming the festival into what one organizer compared to war-torn Bosnia. The haunting images capture massive bonfires scattered across a half-mile-wide circle at the festival grounds. Flames leap several feet into the air as silhouettes of attendees dance around them in frenzied celebration. The photos reveal plywood panels torn from the peace wall being added to the fires alongside vendor trailers, pizza boxes, mattresses, and other debris. Some images show metal barrels turned into makeshift drums being beaten by concert-goers. Others capture the Red Hot Chili Peppers performing on stage with chaos unfolding before them. Band members wearing hard hats rigged to shoot flames into the air. The devastating fires erupted following an ill-conceived decision by organizers. Anti-violence group PAX had distributed 100,000 candles to fans during the Red Hot Chili Peppers' closing performance for a planned vigil against gun violence. Rather than creating a peaceful moment, this action provided the disgruntled crowd with tools for destruction. The situation intensified when the band, ignoring promoters' suggestions to calm the audience, performed Jimi Hendrix's Fire as their encore. Following the incendiary performance, the festival descended into complete anarchy. Staff barricaded themselves inside a control tower as vendors fled. Frightened MTV crews evacuated after attendees violently attacked news trucks and reporters, with anchor Kurt Loder comparing the scene to a war zone. State troopers were summoned to confront rioters who were breaking into ATM machines, ultimately stealing approximately $22,000. By morning, over $1 million in damage had been inflicted. Anthony Kiedis, looking out at the smoke and flames rising from the crowd, aptly remarked, "Holy shit, it looks like apocalypse now out there." They promised a modern Woodstock full of love and music, but the photos tell a very different story. From wild crowds to jaw-dropping chaos, each image gets more unbelievable, and the final picture will leave you speechless. Red Hot Chili Peppers playing Fire amid chaos. Haunting photographs capture the Red Hot Chili Peppers performing on stage as plumes of smoke rise from multiple bonfires throughout the festival grounds, creating an eerily apocalyptic backdrop to their closing set. These dramatic images show the band members continuing to play as fires rage in the distance behind them. In some photos, Anthony Kiedis and his bandmates appear on stage wearing flame-shooting hard hats while performing amid the growing chaos. The pictures reveal a striking contrast between the organized stage performance and the unfolding destruction visible in the background. The most controversial aspect of these photos stems from the band's decision to play Hendrix's Fire as their encore while actual fires burned throughout the venue. Throughout their performance, the fires grew from what initially appeared to be distant bonfires into major conflagrations. Prior to their encore, festival promoter John Scher interrupted the set to warn about a bit of a problem with the fires. Yet after this announcement, the band proceeded with Fire anyway. In reality, this song choice wasn't meant to incite violence. Jimi Hendrix's sister had specifically requested they play a Hendrix tribute. Following the concert, media outlets immediately blamed the Red Hot Chili Peppers for deliberately inciting the riots by playing Fire. However, drummer Chad Smith explained they had no idea about the severity of the situation from their vantage point. "We were merely paying homage to the great Jimi Hendrix," Smith later stated, though he conceded, "I guess the timing of it wasn't so great." Ultimately, the next morning, the band members woke up to news reports portraying them as the bad guys who had triggered the festival's violent conclusion. Fans tearing down the peace fence. Dramatic footage captures the chaotic moments when festival-goers systematically dismantled the massive security barrier at Woodstock 99, an ironic twist for a structure dubbed the Peace Wall. The striking images reveal young attendees ripping apart nearly 6 miles of plywood and steel fencing that surrounded the former military site. Some photographs show attendees triumphantly passing overhead, the giant plywood panels torn from the barriers. Others capture teenagers precariously dancing atop these makeshift platforms. In particular, the photos document how easily locked-out fans scaled the remaining wall sections during the festival's final night. The dismantling of the barrier began in earnest during Limp Bizkit's Saturday performance, when singer Fred Durst explicitly encouraged the crowd to smash stuff. Accordingly, what was specifically designed to prevent gate crashing instead became weaponized. Audience members used the plywood panels for dangerous crowd surfing activities. The security fence, intended as a symbol of order, transformed into a tool for destruction and chaos. As the situation escalated, security guards were evacuated from towers, while stretchers carried blood-spattered teenagers to medical tents. Altogether overwhelmed, some security personnel simply abandoned their posts. Supervisors instructed guards to take the shirt off and walk away. To put it differently, the Peace Patrol was unable or unwilling to control the escalating situation. Ultimately, panels from the dismantled Peace Wall were added to the growing bonfires that engulfed the festival grounds on the final night. Topless women surrounded by aggressive crowds. Disturbing photographs from Woodstock 99 reveal a dark undercurrent of misogyny that permeated the festival atmosphere, where sexual misconduct became normalized among certain crowd segments. These troubling images capture topless women surrounded by aggressive male crowds, often with men reaching toward them. Some photos show women attempting to cover themselves while being groped during crowd surfing. Throughout the festival, cameras documented young women sitting on shoulders with men surrounding them, many looking visibly uncomfortable as the crowd's attention focused on them. One infamous photo shows a dark-haired topless woman sitting on someone's shoulders, unaware of the predatory atmosphere developing around her. Most concerning, numerous artists witnessed and condemned this behavior. The Offspring's Dexter Holland spoke out after seeing women groped in the audience, stating, "Just because a girl wants to go crowd surf, it doesn't give guys the right to mistreat them." Sheryl Crow faced relentless "show your tits" chants during her performance. Unfortunately, festival promoter John Scher later blamed victims, suggesting women who were walking around with no clothes on were at least partially to blame for being mistreated. Following the festival, authorities investigated at least 4 sexual mistreated reports. One counselor described witnessing a horrific attack where a woman was sexually mistreated by 5 men in the mosh pit during Korn's performance. Particularly troubling, police officers were later disciplined for posing in photos with topless attendees. The festival ultimately exposed a toxic environment where women's safety was continually compromised. Looters raiding ATM machines. Chaotic images reveal the financial crime wave that swept through Woodstock 99 as desperate attendees targeted ATM machines across the festival grounds. These striking photographs capture overturned ATM machines with crowds surrounding them. Some images show young men using tent spikes to batter the machines, while others depict attendees hoisting ATMs above their heads before hurling them to the ground. Additionally, the photos reveal police in riot gear, confronting perpetrators, attempting to access cash boxes inside the damaged machines. One particularly notorious image shows 2 young people trying to break into an overturned ATM, a photo later posted on the New York State Police website. Remarkably, attendees stood in line for hours to access ATMs before frustration boiled over into criminal activity. The looting was primarily motivated by anger over exorbitant prices. Canned soft drinks reportedly cost $4 each, and 25-pound bags of ice were priced at $17. Nonetheless, the violence directed at these machines was extreme, with one ATM completely carried off and never recovered. Ultimately, approximately $22,000 was stolen from the machines. State police recalled almost 150 members from Troop D and 80 members from other troops to restore order. Afterward, authorities took the unusual step of posting photographs of rioters on their website, asking for public assistance in identifying lawbreakers. Burning vendor trailers and tents. Terrifying images document the targeted destruction of commerce areas throughout Woodstock 99 as rioters focused their rage on vendor property during the festival's chaotic final hours. These alarming photographs capture a dozen parked vendor trailers engulfed in flames as concert-goers loot merchandise and food. Several images show attendees pulling cases of soda from the burning trucks while feeding the flames with debris. Other photos reveal overturned T-shirt stands and tents completely razed to the ground. The pictures likewise document how festival-goers used pieces of the plywood peace wall to fuel these fires. Unlike the spontaneous bonfires elsewhere, these blazes were part of a coordinated attack on festival commerce. For almost an hour after the Red Hot Chili Peppers set ended, marauding bands of shirtless men systematically destroyed vendor property. Simultaneously, explosions ripped through the trailers as gas tanks ignited, each boom evoking cheers from thousands of onlookers. Even as property destruction escalated, some maintained a perversely festive atmosphere. One prankster announced over loudspeakers, "Please pick up all garbage and throw it into the fire." State troopers in riot gear finally arrived, dodging lemons and oranges thrown by the crowd. The officers cleared a 100-yard perimeter around the blazing semi-trailers, yet remained vastly outnumbered. By early morning, the flames had been extinguished, although damage estimates ultimately exceeded $1 million. Crowd surfing on plywood panels. Jarring images from Limp Bizkit's infamous Woodstock 99 performance reveal a dangerous trend that epitomized the festival's descent into chaos. Attendees using torn plywood panels as makeshift surfboards above the crowd. The disturbing photographs capture concertgoers riding large sheets of plywood that had been ripped from surrounding structures. One particularly notorious image shows frontman Fred Durst himself, balanced atop a piece of floating plywood as it moves across the sea of people. Other photos reveal multiple panels simultaneously being passed overhead while the band performs their aggressive hit break stuff. The images also document stage technicians placing a sign reading "The Alamo" below cameras as they feared the increasingly hostile audience. The danger escalated when Durst actively encouraged the destructive behavior. After staff approached him about injuries, he told the crowd, "They want to ask us to ask you to mellow out a little bit, but I don't think you should mellow out." Soon afterward, many panels collapsed, dropping crowd surfers onto fans below, potentially crushing them. Throughout this mayhem, cameras even caught a man groping a topless woman. Ultimately, promoter John Scher blamed Limp Bizkit for the violence, stating that in his 50 years of promoting, he'd never had to pull the plug on a band as he did when their set spiraled out of control. Indeed, this performance has since been documented in multiple films as a pivotal moment when the festival's energy transformed into destructive violence. Collapsed speaker towers in flames. Nightmarish footage documents the structural collapse that epitomized Woodstock 99's dangerous conditions, the fiery destruction of massive speaker towers amid the festival's closing hours. These alarming images capture a large audio tower engulfed in flames as it collapses onto the field. In the photos, concertgoers can be seen climbing the base of the scaffolding moments before its catastrophic failure. Other images show the Red Hot Chili Peppers on stage in the background as the structure burns, with some attendees celebrating around the wreckage. The aftermath photos reveal only twisted metal remains of speakers and industrial mounting apparatus, with handles and metal grills being the only recognizable parts. Primarily, these images capture how rioters worked for nearly 10 minutes to push over this normally stable structure. After removing parts that kept the tower upright, they succeeded in toppling equipment designed to withstand hurricane-force winds. Upon collapse, several attendees carried the expensive speakers and crown amplifier racks directly into the flames. Throughout this destruction, festival officials appeared powerless to intervene, as the local fire department refused to respond, fearing the increasingly hostile audience. Following the tower's collapse, Rome Mayor Joe Griffo desperately pleaded with the Chili Peppers to return to stage and calm the crowd. Nonetheless, frontman Anthony Kiedis insisted there was nothing he could do to control the aggressive audience. Ultimately, this structural failure represented just one casualty in a night that saw approximately 12 trailers burned so intensely that their metal seemingly melted away. Police in riot gear storming the grounds. Confrontational images depict hundreds of riot police advancing on festival crowds during Woodstock 99's chaotic final hours, marking the military-style end to a weekend of escalating disorder. These tense photographs capture between 500 to 700 New York State troopers, local police officers, and 25 firefighters forming rigid riot lines across the festival grounds. Officers in full protective gear can be seen pushing crowds northwest, away from the eastern stage area where performances had concluded. Other images show police dodging bottles and debris hurled by resistant concert-goers. Throughout the photographs, the contrast between organized police formations and the chaotic festival landscape creates an alarming visual record of authority attempting to restore order. The stark militaristic response transformed what began as a music celebration into what one trooper described as a pretty ugly scene. State Police Commander Jim Simpson's statement reveals the overwhelming nature of confronting 150,000 increasingly hostile attendees. Even more troubling, festival officials reportedly considered calling in the National Guard as the situation deteriorated beyond control. Unfortunately, once MTV's broadcast tower was compromised, authorities lost crucial visibility into developing hotspots. After 5 exhausting hours, law enforcement finally contained the riots. Yet the aftermath revealed sobering statistics: 1,200 reported injuries and 44 arrests, including one for sexual assault. State police later posted photographs of rioters on their website, seeking public assistance identifying perpetrators. Ultimately, what began as a peace-focused music festival concluded with officers treating the grounds as a somber crime scene. You think you've seen it all? Trust me, the photos from WoodStock 1999 will prove you haven't. From shocking moments on stage to madness in the crowd, you'll want to sit tight till the very end. Fans climbing lighting rigs. Unsettling photographs reveal dangerous climbing antics at WoodStock 99 as reckless attendees scaled lighting and sound equipment, creating a perilous situation throughout the chaotic festival. These alarming images capture fans climbing up massive lighting towers that visibly shake under their weight. On one hand, some photos show audience members pelting these structures with an endless barrage of plastic bottles. Yet other images document stage crew members watching helplessly as the towers sway dangerously. Given that many climbers were visibly intoxicated, these photos capture a disaster waiting to happen. Firstly, these climbing incidents occurred alongside Fred Durst, actively encouraging destructive behavior during Limp Bizkit's performance. Hence, when stage managers requested Durst ask fans to mellow out, he instead told the crowd, "I don't think you should mellow out." Up to the present time, festival experts point to this as a pivotal moment when authority completely collapsed. What is more, fans had learned from Kid Rock that bottles flew further with liquid inside them, creating additional hazards for everyone below. Right after bottles started flying, one witness reported being hit in the head with a half-filled bottle of Mountain Dew. Thus, veteran promoter John Scher was forced to pull the plug on Limp Bizkit's performance, something he claimed he'd never had to do in 50 years of promoting. Kid Rock provoking the crowd. Infuriating photographs document Kid Rock's early afternoon set at WoodStock 99, where the performer deliberately incited a dangerous situation that foreshadowed the festival's later destruction. The revealing images capture Kid Rock on stage, directly encouraging fans to throw plastic bottles during his performance. Some photographs show him shouting into the microphone while gesturing toward the audience. Other frames document the resulting Plague of Locusts appearance as thousands of plastic water bottles simultaneously filled the air above the crowd. Essentially, these photos show the moment when Kid Rock himself had to seek shelter from the hail of plastic projectiles he had encouraged. To begin with, Kid Rock specifically demanded that the kids pelt the stage with plastic water bottles during his early afternoon set on the festival's second day. The artist was apparently protesting the exorbitant prices at concession stands as he asked the audience to throw their empty water bottles on stage in between songs. This provocative request occurred amidst serious tensions. Immediately before his performance, Canadian band The Tragically Hip had been pelted with bottles by fans anticipating Kid Rock's set. After the performance, Kid Rock displayed minimal remorse. Videotape showed him grinning afterward, telling MTV News he felt a little bad about his incitements, but was psyched at how riled up everyone was. Most importantly, Kid Rock's actions directly influenced other performers. Shortly after his set, Wyclef Jean similarly asked fans to throw bottles. The performer left the stage quickly as plastic bottles piled into a mound, leaving behind a dangerous precedent for behavior that would escalate throughout the weekend. WoodStock 99 looked like a party from the outside, but these photos expose the truth nobody expected. And the further we go, the wilder it gets. The last image might just leave you gasping for air. Insane clown posse. Throwing money into the crowd. Provocative images capture insane clown posse executing their unique form of protest during their Friday night set at WoodStock 99, deliberately turning their performance into a catalyst for chaos. The shocking photographs reveal ICP members taping $100 bills to beach balls and kicking them into the audience. Other images display the ensuing mayhem as desperate festival-goers frantically fought over the money. Several photos show the band members watching with apparent satisfaction as their financial projectiles disappear into the struggling masses. Remarkably, ICP was the first act to deliberately incite the crowd by throwing $100 bills into the audience and watching gleefully while a melee ensued. After exhausting their supply of $100 bills, they escalated by taping $500 notes to larger beach balls and continued fueling the disorder. This calculated provocation occurred amid escalating tensions over the festival's price gouging. Water bottles cost $4 each, and personal pizzas were priced at $12. As a result, the San Francisco Examiner reported that ICP's actions started the ball rolling for the riots that later engulfed the festival. In a perverse calculus of desperation, each $100 bill represented 25 life-giving bottles of water to the hot, thirsty attendees. The band continued their performance from the safety of the stage behind security, while fans below fought over the money. Collapsed water stations and broken pipes. Desperate images document the water crisis that magnified WoodStock 99's misery, as thirsty festival-goers faced collapsed infrastructure under blistering temperatures. The photographs capture broken water stations with pipes jutting from the ground, spewing water across the festival site. Several images show frustrated attendees crowded around these broken fountains, filling bottles directly from pipes. Others reveal people standing in long lines at functioning stations under the scorching sun. Unfortunately, many pictures document attendees breaking additional pipes out of desperation, creating expanding mud pits throughout the former Air Force Base. Owing to these conditions, emergency medical crews treated nearly 1,000 people for heat exhaustion and dehydration just in the first day. The Baltimore Sun reported over 700 heat-related treatments throughout the weekend. Promoter John Scher later blamed unruly fans, claiming they wrecked a quarter of the free water stations. Nonetheless, testimonies suggest the crisis stemmed from inadequate planning coupled with corporate greed, a toxic combination that fueled the weekend's growing rage. What happens when a festival meant for peace turns into pure chaos? These shocking WoodStock 1999 photos have the answer. Each one tells a story, and by the time we get to the end, you won't believe your eyes. Fans passed out from heat exhaustion. Harrowing medical scenes from WoodStock 99 document the devastating impact of extreme heat on festival attendees who were inadequately prepared for the scorching conditions. These distressing images capture unconscious concert-goers being carried on stretchers through dense crowds. Medical staff can be seen frantically attending to collapsed fans lying on the ground, many appearing pale and unresponsive. Other photos show overwhelmed first aid stations where attendees receive IV fluids, while others wait in long lines outside medical tents that treated 125 patients per hour during peak times. Primarily, the festival grounds, mostly concrete and tarmac, amplified temperatures by 5 to 10 degrees above the already dangerous 90-degree heat. Thereupon, water access became severely limited, with bottles priced at $4 each, equivalent to $8 in 2024. As such, over 700 people were treated for heat exhaustion and dehydration halfway through the weekend, with total medical admissions reaching 1,200. In fact, the heat crisis culminated in tragedy when 24-year-old David DeRosia collapsed in the mosh pit and subsequently died. His body temperature reached a fatal 107 degrees. Overall, approximately 4,000 to 4,500 patients required treatment, with heat-related issues constituting 60% of all medical cases. The medical facilities were reportedly so overwhelmed that logs showed at least 40 patients were seen in the main medical center between midnight and 2 a.m. alone. The Peace Wall reduced to rubble. Ironically named, the Peace Wall at Woodstock 99 became one of the event's most potent symbols of destruction, with photographs capturing its systematic dismantling by frustrated festival-goers. Striking images reveal the 12-foot plywood and steel barrier reduced to fragments. Photographs document attendees ripping panels from the once colorful wall that organizers had invited volunteers to paint. Several pictures show concert-goers triumphantly carrying large sections of the dismantled barrier above their heads toward raging bonfires. Other frames capture the stark contrast between the wall's earlier decorated state and its splintered remains scattered across the festival grounds. After the Red Hot Chili Peppers finished their set, attendees systematically tore off plywood panels to feed growing bonfires. State troopers formed a line, arm's length apart, to prevent people from entering certain areas once the wall failed. By morning, the perimeter was compromised beyond repair, with several miles of fencing destroyed. Throughout the night, promoters watched helplessly as their security plans literally went up in flames. With this, we have come to the end of this video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, do well to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. To enjoy more thrilling stories like this, click now on the following video that pops up on your screen. See you next time.